Hello and welcome to the Embroidery Warehouse. So today we're going to be discussing needle breaks and thread breaks and the common errors that result in those. So there's several different factors that play into those issues: material type and thickness, needle type, as well as tensions. All play a factor in your thread breaks and your needle breaks. So the first thing we're going to discuss is your tensionings. So this is a Butterfly 1501 transformer. On this particular machine, there's 3 different areas in which tensionings can be adjusted. You've got your upper tensioning knobs, you've got your lower tensioning knobs, and this lever down here also affects your tensioning. Now, your machine may be a little bit different. Some machines only have 2 sets of knobs, others only have 1. So it's important to know, as far as your machine, the tensionings on those and ensuring that the tensions are set correctly. So if you're doing a thicker material or a heavier duty material, you may need to loosen these tensions up just a little bit or tighten them depending on what design you're doing, because your design also plays a part in that as well. Make sure anytime you're doing a design, if you are having thread breaks, needle breaks, this is the first thing you're going to want to look at. So your thread path as well, ensuring that things like this, as you can see right here, this thread happens to be wrapped up around here. That can create undue tension, unnecessary tension on your thread, and can end up resulting in unwanted thread breaks and needle breaks. So tensions are going to be a big part of this. There is no real set location for those tensions. It is altered and done by design and material. So keep that in mind when you're running it. Play with those tensions a little bit. Find that sweet spot where it sews out perfectly for you, and that's where you're going to want those tensions to stay. Okay guys, so the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to needle breaks and thread breaks is material type, thickness, and needle type. So this is going to play a very important factor in those thread breaks and those needle breaks. And understanding which different needles to use, how those needles need to be orientated in your machine, and the different material types is going to be vital. Making sure that your embroidery turns out the way that you want it. So first and foremost, as far as needle position goes, I have a needle here. As you can tell, as I start rotating this needle a little bit, on the back side here of this needle, there is a little indentation. Now, this needle here is color-coded on the back side. That indentation needs to go to the back side of your machine. The flat surface of the needle needs to go towards the front side of the machine, facing you. And what would be that colored area there with the notch in it needs to go to the back side. So that is going to be very important in preventing needle breaks. If this needle is not orientated correctly in there, as the hook comes around, it will cut that needle off every single time. So the second thing is needle type, and size. For needles, you have sharp and ballpoint needles, which are going to be used for different types of materials. You also have different size needles. As you can see here, we have a standard array of different size needles. Most needles that come with our machines when we send them out are the standard 7511 needles, which are good for most materials. However, when you start getting into things like thicker materials, such as Richardson hats, denim, even quilting, you're going to want to do a heavier duty needle, something maybe like an 812. Whereas for thinner materials, silks, satin, delicate fabrics, you're going to want to go with a smaller needle, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of a 7010. So keep that in mind when you are doing different materials as to what type of needle you need, what size needle you need, and whether it needs to be a sharp or a ballpoint. So for that extra piercing power, you're going to want to make sure that you have those sharps for things like denims, thicker hats, heavier duty materials. That way you get that penetrating power with that needle on those materials. Okay guys, so hopefully that was informative for you and helps get you past some of those issues that you may be having with those thread breaks and those needle breaks. If you are still experiencing those issues and you're constantly having needle breaks, it also needs to be determined if you are having those needle breaks on just one particular needle or all of them. If you are still having that issue on all of them, then at that point you may need to look further into things such as hook timing, which we also have a video for that for you guys as well, to walk you through how to do hook timing to also help prevent those needle breaks and ensure that your embroidery is turning out perfect.